that.
So this is what I start to go after a while, right? That it's like you throw, it's almost like you look at it like putting together a puzzle or something like that, and you're putting it together, and you realize at some point, oh no, this isn't going to fit this way. And then you're like, oh, well, let me try this way, and all of the pieces start falling into place. And that's kind of your evidence that this is the correct way to be looking at things. It's like the thing I was saying with John McCain, like all these neocons. It's like, well, if they really cared about, the goals that they claim they care about, wouldn't a lot more of them be going like, oh gosh, these last 5 wars were a disaster, not advocating for the 6th war. And then you go like, okay, well, what if they're just making all their buddies rich? And then you go, oh, well, then everything starts to fit together. And I'll tell you, again, this is what I said about the whole petrodollar narrative. It's just like, if you can't offer me a better template than that, I think this is the one we're going to go with for now. Because if you start to think, oh, is this about protecting the petrodollar, then all these wars start to fit into, now it all makes perfect sense. It's like, well, why do we care about the humanitarian violations of Assad, but we don't care about the humanitarian violations of the Saudis? Why is that? Doesn't make any sense if you take the humanitarian angle, but if you take the petrodollar angle, it makes a shit ton of sense, right? So if you start to throw this military-industrial complex, petrodollar outlook on things, and you realize, as I've said many times on the show, that the real adventurism in the Middle East starts getting kicked into high gear with what? The first Persian Gulf War. It's right after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Right after the collapse of the Soviet Union, we start moving into the Middle East, which is what we were already, right? That's where we were fighting some of the ground of the Cold War. And so we get in there, we go in, to Iraq. We make sure our oil's being traded the way we want. Then he goes off again in 2000. We go in, we take him out, right? Taking Assad. Now you see that going after Assad, this is why I was telling everyone to watch Syria, that going after Assad is where the Russians come in and meet us. And now if you look at things from this perspective, then these questions of why are they so concerned with working with Russia start to make sense. Because the whole thing's about the fucking petrodollar, which is working against Russia. That's what it's all about. So there's no being nice to Russia. Why do they want these sanctions? Because it's fucking damaging Russia's economy. That's why. Because it's damaging them. You start fucking, if you were trying to it's like if you were trying to fist fight someone, why would you want them to be cut in the Achilles? I don't know, because it makes them a lot easier to fight. It makes them a lot easier to keep out of the Middle East if their economy's bleeding.